What is going to happen with Brazilian Zouk in 2025? Do you have any idea or prediction? Or any wishes? Well, let's find out. Hello, and welcome back to ZoukNerds. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the things that we want to achieve in 2025 and also the ways that we think that Brazilian Zouk is going to travel. How are the trends going to affect our dancing? And everything that we expect and foresee for this year in our dance community. So, let's go! Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Alisson Sanji, and today we have our two amazing co-hosts. Hello, Gui Prada.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back.
And today we have Adayl back with us, who has been taking a break, but we're so happy to have him back. Hello, Adayl.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be back after a lot of trips, a lot of moving around. It's my second house since you hear from me last. New haircut and new everything. So glad to be back.
Yes, it's almost the new year. So actually, by the time this episode is out, it's actually the new year. So let's consider this the start of something new. Happy 2025 from ZoukNerds. Today, we want to start this new year by sharing a little bit of our perspective and our good practices in terms of training. As we start the new year, we have New Year resolutions and we have a bunch of things that we want to achieve. So then we thought, why not discuss and share how each of us train differently, or how we help our students train, and also how we train with our dance partners. And I think the best way to approach this is to actually talk about our strengths here. We're different teachers that have different perspectives and also different preferences in terms of music and connection and creativity. So then, hopefully, whichever way and whichever style you like to train, this episode will be helpful. So, let's start with a quick question. What are you guys most looking forward to in terms of your dancing for this year?
Well, happy 2025, everybody. So, for 2025, I think my main goal for dancing is to finally get lambada going in my body, learn this goddamn dance, start working on it. And I also want to have this year be a year that I'm going to have a more dedicated time for training, actually save that in my schedule and make it a thing. For the longest time now, I only train consistently when I am somewhere that has someone who is as available as I am. So for example, when I go to Brazil or when I go to Taiwan, there is someone there that we can dance every week. When I am here in the United States, it's way harder. So the whole time gets consumed by the classes, the preparation, the admin work. So for next year, I want to that's my next year resolution, New Year's resolution, make dedicated, focused efforts into training weekly with someone. I think that's for me the simple version of what I want to achieve. What about you, Adayl?
I think for me it's the same. And I really do believe that what you just said is really helping me this year also, because I have all the trainings booked on the calendar. So we cannot just run away from it. So we have 3 training sessions scheduled on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Mondays with a separate time slot so we can get into the studio and train and plan classes and everything. And I think that is helping a lot with consistency. And I think that's what you're looking for. Besides that, I think for me, it's also travel more, even though I travel a lot this year. But I think as a resolution for me is to go to more events and travel more and be more present with the Zouk community in general. I think that would be my 2025 resolution. What about you, Allison?
Well, by the time this episode goes to air, I will already be living in Taiwan. I'm currently in DC, but when you're watching this, I'm already there. Moved to Taiwan, and it's a big shift in my entire life, but we can save that for another episode. In terms of my dancing, I really want to focus on becoming an even better teacher, learning different dance styles. Like I used to train a lot in tango, and I did a little bit of West Coast swing before. I did a lot of ballroom before, but I would like to spend more time doing solo dancing. So really investing in solo dancing, investing in flexibility, investing in strength. And in terms of my own partner dancing, definitely get to another level in Lambada, because I find that every time and every class that I do in Lambada takes my Zouk to like 10 levels up. So I want to do that and see how that can improve my musicality, my connection, my interpretation in the music. So blending more of that, because I think that's the future. The future to me is going to be just like other dance styles, maybe tango, for example. You have traditional tango and then you have neo tango, and maybe in the same social they play both styles. And all of the dancers completely change how they're dancing based on the music that is playing. So my prediction to the Zouk and Lambada community future is that very, very soon, all the socials will play all the different styles of music, and the dancers will change either their timing or dynamics, or completely change the dance based on what music the DJs are playing.
That's a very good reminder for me too, because I also have as a resolution the solo dancing stuff, for sure. I'm already envisioning what I'm gonna do and already have stuff to do early 2025, where I'll also be in Taiwan. So Alison and I will be there. Like by the time this episode is out, I'm in Brazil. Yeah, but I'll be in Taiwan later. And in Taiwan, there is more, I think it's more available, easy to get to places where we can dance all the things. So the solo dancing stuff is also very much something that I want to dedicate more time to, 100%. And like Adayl was saying, the events, but not necessarily going to more events, but starting to organize our own events here more mindfully, taking more time to plan and market everything. Because normally here in DC, we don't do too many weekenders and stuff like that. We focus much more on the regular classes. And next year, bringing some more attention to how can we complement what we teach during the week on the weekends as well, with more thoughtful events. That's something that is also in the books for this year, 2025.
And I also want to get back into having more structured training. Back when I was in Australia, I had a more consistent schedule of training where each day I would separate things to do. So for example, when Christina came to Australia, we would be training like 4 or 5 times a week. And the first hour, we would do a lot of solo dancing. Just solo. Both of us would warm up, but warm up separately. And then the first hour after that, so the second hour, we would focus on just dancing, but without really challenging ourselves. More to like get in tune with each other. So kind of calibrating for about an hour. And then based on what we did in that first hour, every now and then things would happen and we wanted to kind of like go deep into it, but we would just store it in our mind and go like, okay, in the next hour, we go deep into this. Sometimes we even record or write something down. And then in the third hour, we would go into like, okay, let's explore that thing that happen in the hour before. I find that this would allow us not to get like all messy and all over the place. You know, like the first hour is solo training. We're training solo, and sometimes we ask each other, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But, you know, completely solo. The second hour, it's more like we don't discuss or go deep into it. We just accept and go with the flow. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we don't try to fix it. We just keep going. Kind of like having a conversation training. Just go. And then in the third hour and the fourth hour, it's more like, okay, let's study the things that sparked some interest for us in that second hour or in the first hour. Or maybe by the last hour, so we used to train maybe 4 or 5 hours. So the fourth or the fifth hour, we would go into something like, hey, let's try something that we don't normally do. So sometimes we would just like randomly pick a video of maybe super old school, like the oldest video we could find, and then we'll try something from that video. Or something like a social dance. Watch a student social dancing and then see something and go like, oh, let's try that one. Or maybe somebody who is a new couple or an OG couple doing something different that we don't normally do in our dances. So yeah, having like solo and then just connection and then exploring and like expanding our dance would be like a structure that I like to follow. So I want to go back into that because I don't find inspiring or exciting to go training and just social dance. Like when I came to the US for the first time, there was a bunch of people like, hey, do you want to train? Hey, do you want to train? And I was like, okay, sure, let's train. And when I went to those training sessions, I was trying to have something like in my mind, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. But nobody wanted to do that. People just wanted to kind of like social dance, but no talk. And I'm like, I cannot really go into that because I kind of like need to have things in my mind, whether it's just like letting go. I need to have something to hold myself into to think, okay, I am training instead of I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah, I really think for some people, the desire of social dance training, it's better than just training, right? And I share with you guys the same desire. I really want to solo training too. I think it's going to be something that it's going to help me a lot with. Body movement is something that sometimes I struggle with. This year, I find myself battling more the injuries that I acquire from 30 years of my life. And realizing that and how to accommodate that, I think solo dance training is going to help me a lot. But hearing you guys, and I think this is a good tip for those who are listening us too, because I'm very curious about it. With all this in mind, and with your guys' schedule, how you're going to find time to fit part dance training, solo dance training, plus regular classes and trips and everything. What is in your mind to book all of this around your busy schedule?
That's an excellent question that I thought about that so many times. I think in the end of the day, man, it's a matter of prioritization. I don't know if that's a English word or not. Because right now, the priority is being given to certain things. But I'm already practicing to establish some sort of routine in my life. So every day I wake up and I do the same stuff. So the same thing, for example, I'm studying Chinese. So every day is 15 minutes of Chinese, at least 15 minutes of Chinese, at least a little bit, some of that. So it would be more implementing that idea of bringing someone into some sort of routine that will be in my schedule. I'll start putting on the Google Calendar because I start to realize if it's in the calendar, it's almost like acquire this sacred aspect to it. It's in the calendar. I get the reminder. So try to do that in the calendar. I try to do that, creating a routine. Yeah, I saw a little bit of the thing of the atomic habits, which was really inspiring and trying to implement that in my life. So I'm training, creating routine. So next year I can bring that. The thing in the complements that too is about availability. So one thing that I want to make sure is to surround myself with things that are not so difficult to get to or to accomplish. So for example, I was wanting to do solo dance classes here in DC, but the studio, it was kind of far. So because of that commute, I decided at this time, it's not the time, because I couldn't find a way to work around the commute to go to the studio and come back. So there's all these aspects of logistics as well. But I think it always starts with making it a routine, I think, for me. And then bringing that more into priority. Because I don't know if you guys feel this way. I certainly feel when you get caught up so much into the admin stuff, the art starts to suffer. Yeah, you as an artist, it starts to, suffer a little bit. And there is this emptiness that starts growing slowly. And then you realize you're like, man, I haven't trained in a while. I haven't felt that excitement of developing, of evolving, of creating in a while anymore. Of course, we can exercise our creative energy, creating workshops, creating new classes, and getting better in the way that we deliver content. However, on a movement perspective, sometimes it gets a little complicated. So when I'm in Taiwan, for example, there is time and there is availability because things are easy to get. So it's really easy to go around and do the things. And I think the most important aspect, there is someone that is as available as I am, and then it becomes easier. So I think for me in this circumstance, and for Alisson most of the time too, Mestre, we have this aspect of being solo artists for most of the time. So we do not have a consistent partner to train with us. And most people who are around us have a primary job, a day job. So they don't have the same availability and they don't have the same, desire, maybe the pull, the push. Understandably, of course, they are doing other things. So yeah, long answer to your question, but that's the idea.
Yeah, I too can relate with you, and we've spoken about this before, where when you go from being a dancer to then working with dance, a lot of the times people actually quit or they lose their passion for dancing because now it becomes like this admin, accounting, marketing, legal job that does not really focus on the pleasures of dancing anymore. And that's kind of like what I did for the last 2 years, because I focused my last 2 years into growing and expanding the Brazuki brand worldwide. So I'm looking forward to, from the next year, to change that back into my own dancing. And the first thing that I recommend everybody to do is to make sure that before the year starts, or right now, as the year just started, block out everything that you want for yourself. So block out your holidays, block out your training time, block out your week to make sure that you agree to that and you commit to that. The important thing is to make sure that you don't change that for nothing. Because a lot of the times we feel powerless because maybe we planned a trip here, or maybe we planned to go to this training with some teacher that you were looking forward to, and then you get an invitation to go and work somewhere and you think, oh, I cannot say no to that. We need to learn to say no to other things so then we can say yes to ourselves, which is something that we've been speaking quite a lot in the last few episodes. So for the new year, if you have goals, if you have ideas of things that you want to do, make sure that you write down plans and you make very, very solid plans on when to do it and how to do it, and keep saying yes to yourself. And don't feel guilty saying no to other things just because you're prioritizing yourself. That's what I'm going to do. Absolutely, 1,000,000%.
We gotta fight the FOMO. Yeah? I think that's the main work for us that work and live in this partner dance world, especially the Brazilian Zouk world. All these beautiful people, all these beautiful events, all these beautiful places. And we want to work for all of them. Yeah? And we want to dance with all the people. So sometimes we forget ourselves. And I was curious to ask Adayl, since you moved to Portland and now that you have a space that is more available and you have now a partnership, if you have implemented a training schedule for you there, if you are able to do something more consistently training wise.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the goals for me moving here and one of the attractiveness of it was really having what you said, Gui, to have a space that is available and someone that is also available as much as I am for training. In a sense that even before I was here, when Dublin and I were just talking about it, it was a part of the conversation between both of us of like, how much do you want to train per week? How much time are you available? How can we make this happen? And I think it's a important thing, as you guys say. I don't know if the camera is going to get it or not, but we have on the calendar training. We have a booked time, and of course, sometimes we ask each other like, hey, can we push 30 minutes or not? But we meet at that day, at that time is our goal. And another thing that came to my mind, and as a tip for everyone that is listening to, the past 2 or 3 events that I went, something that I'm trying to be also more proactive at. If it's part of your interest, you can find time and book time with people that are not necessarily are artists, they're not taking privates, but you can book time to practice and train with other people. Be more mindful of it. So at Elevation this past weekend, Nayara and Leandro were here in Portland 1 week before, and I told Nayara, can we schedule a time that we can actually get together and train together? So I check her schedule, I check my schedule, and we'll find a time and we're going to get there and train. Even if it's like an hour, I think it's a good opportunity to not skip training, even when you're in an event. I know sometimes for the artist, this is kind of impossible. I know Alison goes to events and Gui goes to events, and you guys teach like 5, 6, 7 hours, and Judge Jack and Jill have your own schedule. Sometimes it's hard, but for the normies like us that don't have a busy schedule like you two, and attendees of the event, I know that's something that we can mindfully put ourselves into. And as you said, Gui and Alison, I think the important thing is prioritize. If that's something you want to do, put your mind to it and go and do it. Instead of, oh, maybe I'll do it, maybe I'll find someone, and then the year is gone. It's already 2026 and nothing happened. Right?
Bro, it goes by so fast. When I got back in June, I was like, I'm going to train this much. I'm going to go back to Tango. I'm going to go to the socials. I didn't go to one single Tango social. I didn't take one single Tango class. I didn't take one single solo class. The whole 6 months, because it's just like, boom, it goes by, the day goes by. Because here we need to leave for class. I leave for class at around 5:36, which is about the same time that the classes happen. Yeah? And then the classes happen mostly in the prime days, which are Tuesday and Wednesday. And then on Thursday we travel. And then when the Tango Social happens, it happens to be the weekend that I'm traveling. So all these things happen and the year goes by. So we do need to prioritize, and we do need to be really, really goddamn intentional about it, like Alison was saying. And block off the whole thing. You know, so next year I want to look at, when do we have Tango Socials? I'm going to block off that Saturday. I'm not going to travel. and it's a choice that we are making. We are deciding not to work, not to make money, not to bring bread to the table, as we say in Portuguese, né? To work on these other aspects of our lives who are missing something, who are like desiring for more, the artistry and all this stuff.
Yeah, bro. I think this is something that everybody can relate to, not just the dance professionals, but also the students, where we make lots of plans, but we end up not achieving them. Just outside of dancing, when I came to spend some time in the US, I had all of these plans that I'm gonna watch all of these shows and go to games and go to like parks with roller coasters and things like that. In 5 years, I don't think I have. I went to Disneyland 2 months ago, and that was after 5 years of trying. And I went to Disneyland for 2.5 hours because I couldn't even do the whole day because I was so busy when I was there. That is something that has to change because, yes, when I was living my retired life in Melbourne, between 2016 to 2019, I was like retired from traveling in this global life. Bro, I did everything that I wanted to do in my life. So that's this year. This year is a year for me to invest in my dancing, to invest on things that I want to do. Because the way I think about it, it's kind of always like what I'm doing now is going to come into effect in 2 or 3 years. And what is coming out now is what I've been working on in the last few years. For me, it takes a long time for things to come out naturally. I'm not a natural dancer or learner, so I have to really put in that extra time and allow and be patient with the progress. And that's something that I think we should all remind ourselves to allow the time and be patient with your own progress and make sure that we are celebrating each step of our training. Every time I train, I try to think about, okay, I want to focus on one thing. Yes. So for those of you who like books and audiobooks, I recommend you to read the book Peak, P-E-A-K, Peak. And it talks about how you can pretty much train yourself to do anything. It's something to do with neuroplasticity and how with deliberate training, you can get to whatever you want. And deliberate training is not training everything at once, but really giving specific reserved time for each task and celebrating each small little thing separately, which in turn, in the future, will turn into this big thing that you can go like, yes, I got this. So make sure that you think about that and you put some things down on paper so you can get to that next level without thinking, I'm not getting there, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know how to do it.
And my guess is that you only went to Disneyland for 2.5 hours because Christina is a Disney freak.
Absolutely. I wanted to go for a long time because Christina keeps telling me, you have to go to Disneyland. Oh my God, I cannot believe you haven't been to Disneyland yet. So then, yes, we actually canceled the work that we had that evening and we went to Disneyland just to make sure that I had an opportunity because I don't know when is that going to happen again in my life. But it was amazing. I enjoyed it.
You can go now to Disneyland in Japan.
Absolutely.
I was told that is actually incredible and better. Yes. So yeah. You can go to Disneyland in Japan as well.
Yeah, I was told the parade and the fireworks are like incredible there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But again, that's the thing. We got to make and block the time. Because I think something that I said in the last episode, I'll repeat this again. To me, when people say I don't have the time, that to me actually translates into I will not make this my priority. Because we have time. We just prioritize other things. Even when you say, I can't control my schedule. Well, if you break a leg, you'll stay home. So You know, I know this is a little too extreme, but we can change our schedule if we are very, very focused and passionate about what we want to get to.
I agree completely. And I think that's a really interesting mindset that we need to think about. How to fit all of this in our schedule and the prioritization. And I know this is a subject that we talked about a few episodes ago, but I want to bring it back since it's the New Year's resolution. What are you guys looking for on your personal lives that not necessarily involves the training per se? Allison is going to Taiwan, Gui spend some time away. And how can you fit that on your training schedule also?
Man, for personal life, that's a very interesting question, because after you asked it, I realized I didn't think about my personal life yet. I thought so much about the professional part of it, the very practical part of where I'm going to travel to, when I'm going to go back to this place, work to book, what are the kind of work opportunities that I want to create, that I want to invite. So yeah, thank you for asking, because now I need to think a little bit more. What are my goals for my personal life? I do have a lot of aspects that I want to work on more. We talked about finances in one of the episodes, so I truly want to improve, change, whatever, evolve my relationship with that part of my life. I want to be closer to my family. So like we have been talking about, prioritizing, so book a week to go to Brazil just for a week, just for like 4 days, not waiting until the end of the year to go to Brazil, to spend holidays with family, doing that before. And working on the relationships, friend relationships, love relationships, improving that, getting that more round and not something that is an exception to my daily life, but something that is part of my daily life. Because here in this little cave that I live, we spend most of this time very alone. Yeah. And then we go teach classes, a bunch of people, and go back to an alone cave again, which in certain aspects is really nice, because that silence after so much noise and after so much interaction, so much socializing, going back to the cave is amazing. At times though, you go back and you wish you had somebody just to sit next to you and watch a movie, even in silence, or to talk about stuff. So I think bringing more presence into relationships overall, friends, family, and love, it's something that is in the books for 2025. And I thought of all this just now. Thank you, Adayl, for inviting the reflection on the fly. Thanks so much.
This is now recorded and registered, so we can keep accountability and make sure that when we listen to this episode in about a month, because we're recording this a little bit earlier to make sure that in the holidays we don't have any issues with all of the travels and things like that. Yes, absolutely. I think personal life is a big one for me. Definitely, like I mentioned before, because I'd say the last 5 years, it's just been about the work and the next thing and the next investment into the next phase, into the next level. So I really need, it's not that I want to, I need to take a step back and actually reflect and absorb everything that I've learned in the last 5 years with everything that I've done. Because it's been going 1,000 miles per hour, doing so many different projects for the first time ever, that I feel like now it's time for me to sit down and actually write things down, have everything that I've learned somewhere and transfer it to paper, to documents where I can really go back to and understand everything that is in here. Because it's kind of like, imagine if you buy a bunch of things every day online and everything's arriving and you've got a warehouse of packages that at some point it arrived and you probably know that you bought it, but you haven't really opened and explored it and used it. That's kind of how I feel for the last few years. I've got a full warehouse of packages that are mostly unopened, or some of them are opened, but I haven't really used just because they're like new information that I have acquired, but I haven't categorized them and I haven't really understood how to use it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take from both of you. Thank you for thinking on the fly. And I think that's something that we talked before on how to think about our personal life on this crazy life that we have. For me in general is also the same feeling of reaching out to relationships and some people in my life that I really want to be closer to. And family, as Gui said, it's been probably 5 years that I don't go to Brazil at all. So it's only the virtual relationships with family. But I'm starting it this year already. I'm going to spend Christmas and New Year's Eve with my chosen family. I'm going to Florida to be with Leandro and I for almost 2 weeks, which is great, to just spend some time that 3 of us are actually not working and we can enjoy each other's company. And I think, as we said, we also need to make that a priority in our life and book on the calendar, put it there, and we're going to make this happen. Especially with family, as Gui said, I think it's something that most of people don't realize, that for us as traveling artists, it's really hard to have this intentionality of, oh yeah, I'm going to Brazil and I'm going to visit family. Usually we go to Brazil for events and we fit the family time in the middle and not the opposite. We're going to Brazil to family time and maybe we're going to fit an event or two in this plan. So I think it's something for us to think about. As Alison said, now it's recorded. It's a thing that we can be accountable for each other. Check in a few months and like, hey, do you remember what we said on this podcast? Did you actually do it? So I think it's something that is good for us too.
Yeah. And now that we are in 2025, what do you guys think Brazilian Zouk is going to accomplish, or what it's going to be like in this year? I can say very quickly, I think we are coming to the end of a cycle in the dance, and we are either returning to something or going into something else. I feel very strongly the desire for the chill to be back a little bit more, for the wooshiness, like for something more calm to return. That's what I think based on what I've been listening from the students in private lessons, in group lessons, in the events that I go. So I think the desire for it will loop in the cycle of this dance back into a place where we chill more on the dance floor. That's what I think. But what you guys are, envisioning for 2025, for this year?
Well, I sort of agree with you, Gui, on the cycle and the loop, but I don't think we're going back. Well, let me put it this way. Yes, I think we're going back to a little bit more chill. I'm very looking forward to less fire and show and craziness, but I think it's not as chill as it used to be because of how the dance has evolved into being way more connected with its origin, which is the Mada. So yes, it's a chill, but it's not what we would call back then a planta chill. But definitely more connected, more musical, more interactive between the partners. So I think and I hope that this is where we're going. Less of the Instagram acrobatic Cirque du Soleil kind of dancing and more of the actual social dancing that we get on the floor and that we want to have every night. I'm looking forward to it. That's what I've been investing on my personal dancing with my students. And anywhere I go, to teach. I try to get people to really understand that there's a big difference between the dance for show, for social media, and the dance that we actually have in the community. Because if we keep dreaming and pushing that social media dancing, the community is actually going to go backwards, and we're going to lose a lot of people, and the community is going to shrink. So the more we actually invest and put the passion towards the social dancing that is inclusive, connected, and achievable for the mass, the more the community is going to grow. And that's where I hope and I pray that we're going to.
I think for me, I have a few predictions. I don't know if they're all positive. I believe in the next year or so, we're going to see, as Gui said, that he's planning for DC, an increased number of weekenders happening. I think the offering to the local scenes are going to be increased. At the same time, because of that, I think the number of big time events are going to decrease. Traveling is being very expensive to everyone, as we discussed before. So I feel that organizers are going to push more of this local, more regional events. And then we're going to have our stable big events that everyone just goes and have all this training. And because of that, I think we're going to start having a little bit more mindful offerings from organizers too. That is not just, oh, here's everything possible, you can come and choose. I think we're going to have a more mindful selections for the attendees. This is an event that I would like to go. So for example, a few events that comes to mind. For example, Eclipse Marathon here in Portland. If you want a marathon, you come to a marathon. There's no classes or anything that's happening. If you want to, for example, Brazuki, we offer Brazilian Mix. We offer Jack and Jill. We offer classes, socials, great. If you want to go to Bali for the Bali retreat, it's a completely different experience. So I think catering more to this specific niche in a way, I think this is going to be what we're looking in the future. And still have some events that everyone gets together and have everything. But in general, what we have in looking at the ZoukNerds Facebook group, for example, more than often when we have these events that offers everything, there's always more people not necessarily dissatisfied, but it's always like, can we have just a 2-room? Can we have just a Brazilian energy room? Can we have a Jack and Jill? Can we not have Jack and Jill? Can we? So it's always people asking for what they want in this way that, as we spoke before about the economics of this dance, I think organizers are going to be very mindful of what they're bringing to the table so they can get the attendees into the door for their events.
All right. So with that, we are concluding this episode, and it's a different one. We wanted to try something different for the start of the year. So hopefully with sharing a little bit of our plans, dreams, as well as some tips here and there, we can all be better prepared for the year that is coming ahead. So once again, thank you all for being here with us. Just a reminder, if you want to watch us in the full video format, please go to Spotify where you can actually watch the video, or our YouTube channel. And once again, thank you, Gui, and thank you, Adayl, for being here.
Thank you guys. It was super nice.
Thank you all. See you next week.
Righty then. Thank you guys. Beijos, beijos, abraços, and tchau.